Hello, guys. It's interesting. Hey guys, hello, hello, hello. Anyone there? Hello. Hey guys, I'm still trying to share the live video. Alrighty. Okay, let's go ahead and start. Please drop a comment if you are watching. Thank you guys so much. Turn up this music. Okay, so I see that we have some people watching. Please, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Please share the live video. Let's start talking. So today we're going to be talking about why relationships fail. And I want to start today's video by reading a comment that got me in a lot of trouble. Mm, let's see. Trying to share the live and all of that. Those watching, can you drop a comment, please, so I can know who is there? I see we have two people. That's between Instagram and YouTube. Facebook has one person watching. Um, just give me a second. I need to pull up that comment. Okay. Finally found what I've been looking for. Dun, 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 dun. Alrighty. So just giving you guys a rundown, right? So this post was a post of women, some ladies using comedy to pretty much say how when they got into marriage and the marriages failed, and then when they got married and when they got divorced, and the trauma that they had to go through, just it was a nice post. I actually highly recommend it. So my comment on this post was, dear people of God, marriage is not, and mind you, this is because we're saying God saved me, God this, God that, right? So I said, dear people of God, marriage is not the kind of war zone most of you are describing here. Your marriage became a war zone because you went in unprepared. You refused to walk in righteousness and obedience, then run to God when all fails. It is good to run to God. It should be your only option. And while you're at it, ask Him how you ended up in that situation to begin with. The institution of marriage is the foundation of God's plan for creation and should not be subject to ridicule. If you're reading this and you're single, know that marriage is beautiful when you allow God to prepare you for it and to maintain and to prepare you for it and maintain your relationship with Him even in marriage. Now, I was insulted a lot, right? But the reason why I'm using this particular post to begin today's conversation, again, the title for today's live video is Why Relationships Fail. Now, someone commented on this post and said, God showed me my husband and it still didn't work out. Now, if you were here yesterday, we were talking about who God is, right? Today, while we're talking about why marriages fail, the first answer to that is because people do not, it's the lack of proper communication with God that leads to the failing relationships that you and I have been in or are having to just experience while we're here, right? By the way, if you're dropping comments, I cannot see them for some reason. I feel like Instagram, this, I need to find, please guys, if you know a different, I'm using Restream. If you know a different free website I can use for streaming, kindly share it with me because this thing is so frustrating. I got on here, tried to get in, and uh, they had to get me in a lot of hoops before I could finally go live. So now I'm trying to figure out. I have Instagram and Facebook open on this device, but I'm unable to find the live stream for Instagram. Okay, you know what? I'll just use Facebook for those of you on Facebook. And just by the way, while we're figuring all of this out, okay. Okay, awesome. Well, I believe if someone sends a comment on Facebook, I'm going to see it. Back to what we were talking about. Now, someone said God showed them their spouse, and it brings the question, what then happened? And my response to that is most marriages fail. No, it's not most. Every marriage that ends in divorce comes from a disconnection, or I'm looking for the right word to use to describe it. But pretty much, if your relationship with God or your communication with God is shaky, you know, that would definitely, that can most definitely lead to your marriage ending. Why is Lucy saying this? Okay, so now let's talk about communication. Communication is like one of the most important things for a relationship, for every relationship, right? How you communicate, when you communicate, and blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason these women were insulting me, some said I was being insensitive, God showed them the spouse, and it still did not work out. Now, there's one thing, remember, yesterday we started talking about the character of God, how God speaks. I mean, we talked about God being principled. So today I want us to focus on God as a communicator, how God speaks and why God speaks, right? In relation to our relationships, aka marriage, for example, we're using marriage as our example for this conversation. Now, when God speaks, God usually shows the end from the beginning, other than the beginning, right? When God is showing you something, He shows you the end. He does not necessarily show you the process, He just shows you the end. How is this possible? Book of Genesis, the Lord tells Abraham, pack up, go to a land that I will show you. Abraham goes to the land that he will show him. He shows him the land and he makes a covenant with Abraham and tells him he's going to have a son, and he's going to make his descendants as many as the sand in the sea. We don't see God telling Abraham, oh, you're going to get your concubine pregnant. I'm going to ask you to sacrifice the child that I am giving to you, right? That conversation never happens until the day God says, okay, I gave you this son, give the son back to me. Never tells him you're only going to have one son, and the one son is going to have two sons, and the two sons, one of them is going to have 12 sons. And that's how that journey of your descendants feeling the earth is going to happen. That's one example. We find God telling Noah in the same book of Genesis that he should build an ark because a flood is coming. And Noah, in obedience, spends a little over 100 years building that ark. You know, God did not tell him how long they're going to be in the ark, nothing. He just said, build the ark. And then eventually his family and the animals got on, everything got sealed, and rain started pouring. We go to the very next section of the book of Genesis. You find a man called Jacob. He has 12 children. Joseph, who is his last but one child, sees in a dream that his brothers are bowing to him. Pretty much, God was showing him that you're going to be a leader someday, right? He blabs, and guess what? His brothers tell him, you should know that story. If you don't, please read your Bible. He tells his brothers that this is what God has shown to me, and his brothers tell him. He finds himself as a slave in Egypt. He's later on head servant at home. Then he's in prison, and from there, God elevates him to the exact same position he had shown him years before. Now, when Joseph saw that his family was going to bow down to him, that is what actually made him excited to share the dream because, hey, who doesn't want to be in a position of power, right? So Joseph is not shown the process of how he gets there. That's why his mouth was talking. And while it didn't land him in trouble because what the enemy meant for evil, God used it for good. And it's consistent, right? David, guy's just minding his business, looking after his father's sheep. And before you know it, he's pulled out, there's oil poured on him. You're going to become the king of Israel. And he's like, okay. And you would think that will happen next week. No one told David that he had to run away from Saul. He had to run for his life. He had to fight so many battles. And then eventually he became the king of Israel. Jesus Christ. He was born. His parents were pretty much told, you're going to have a child. Isaiah 14, verse 7. A lady is going to get pregnant. She's going to have a son. His name is Emmanuel. He's going to feed on curds and honey so that he can be able to distinguish between good and evil. Fast forward to the book of Matthew. The angel of the Lord appears to Mary and tells her, blessed art thou amongst women. You're going to be conceived by the Holy Spirit. You're going to have a son. His name is going to be Emmanuel, and he is the Christ. End of story. No one told Mary this man was this, or this child was going to grow up, preach the gospel, and get hanged for it. None of that information was given. So if you study the scripture, you see that consistently God has only shown the end. He has only revealed the end. He has never, ever revealed the process, not to one person. Why is this relevant for you and I to know? If God shows you a pretty lady, that's your wife. God shows you a cute man, that's your husband. It's an invitation to partner with him and ask questions and pray. because God is pretty much showing you, this is my will. This is where I want you to end up. This is where I ordained for you to end up. It doesn't mean you should go and propose tomorrow or accept the proposal tomorrow. That is not the translation. Now you ask me, Lucy, what do I do when God shows me that this is my spouse? First, you want to pray, especially if this is somebody that you know. Because it could just be your mind playing games with you. You actually like that person, and then it starts manifesting in your dreams. You want to start praying and asking God to confirm His word, because God always confirms His word. That's another thing. It's not just one person who sees it and it's it. You usually see he always has a witness. That's why Isaiah could prophesy the coming of the Messiah in the book of Isaiah. Mary receives the information. When Joseph finds out from her, he's like, okay, I wasn't told about this. I better end this quietly, break this engagement off, and find me a decent girl to marry. That's when the angel shows up to him and he's like, sir, you're not going to do that because it's God's will. And Joseph was able to get on board because he got now received the information from a confirmable source, right? So you always have to weigh God's word. You have to pray and ask for confirmation. Now, once there's multiple confirmations that this is the person, the next thing you and I want to do is ask God the right questions. Now, the character traits, if you watch my last video on YouTube, I talked about why your relationship is important with God and how a relationship with God benefits your marriage. If you haven't watched the video after this live stream, please watch it. It has a lot of good stuff. You want to ask yourself this, you want to start asking God, what are the things in my character that you need to work on that will not be beneficial to me in the marriage that you want to deal with? A lot of Christians don't know this. That's why they can come online and say, God showed me my spouse and it still didn't work out. Did you ask God if this spouse that He is revealing to you, if your character is ready, if you are equipped to handle the marriage? Did you ask God if this revelation is for now? Does it have to take another 5 years? Does it have to take another 6 years or however long? Because some of those time frames is because of what the work that God wants to do on both of you, because God doesn't prepare one person for a spouse and leads them to somebody else. You know, you find women saying, "Oh, I think my God wanted me to marry my husband so I can bring him to Christ." No, ma'am. Absolutely wrong. And that's because we have a misstep and a misunderstanding of things. So when God shows you this is the person you have to marry, ask Him, is this marriage for now? Are there things in my character that you need to work on? Are there things in my bloodline that need to be dealt with before I get into marriage? And I'll tell you why this is very important in a little bit. Now, you need to be praying for the spouse God has ordained for you, right? First, you want to pray and ask God to shield them from counterfeits, because the enemy is going to try and stop your marriage at all costs, namely bringing a woman who fits the description, fits some of the character traits with some hidden things too, or the man, whichever way it goes. He's going to try and do that. So you want to first of all ask God to shield your spouse from any counterfeits. Then you want to ask the Lord to reveal to you the areas that in which you need to intercede for your spouse, right? Because your spouse could be dealing with something as serious as inconsistency in their place of prayer. Now, intercession works. throughout the Bible, prayer works. We see Hannah praying for a child, and then she gets a child. Elizabeth prayed faithfully. She gets her baby. And the many other people that we see in the Bible who prayed, and their prayers were answered. So intercession works. Now, when you ask the Lord to reveal to you areas that He wants you to partner in prayer for your ordained spouse, you begin to pray for the person. The third thing you want to pray about is for God to open your eyes to be able to recognize this person when you meet them. And also, you can pray for God to open their eyes too to recognize you when you meet the person. Because some people have, God has said it is time, and they met the spouse and departed the scene. No idea, they just met the person they were supposed to marry. You know, and the fact that God says He has a spouse for you does not mean there's only one person on the earth you're going to marry. We'll talk about that some other time. But this is the foundation of the reasons why our relationships are failing. We don't ask the right questions. For some of us, we're not even willing to work on the character traits that are going to hinder the marriage. We don't want to work on it. Now, the reason why it's important for you to partner with the Lord to work on your character, work on your communication, work on your person before you step into marriage is because there are certain things in your marriage which will only pop up after you say, I do. Marriage is actually a war zone. That's the truth. But the battles you have in your marriage is not your mother-in-law fighting you, your sister-in-laws picking up quarrels with you, your brother-in-laws. Those are the least of your worries. Now, for those of us who are having these issues in marriage, it's just a reflection of the lack of preparation, right? Maybe you married the person who was not ordained for you. But if you go through the process, God always ensures that all of those things, because I'm not saying that if God prepares you for marriage, then your in-laws are going to treat you well. No, it's not automatic. However, if your in-laws are going to be troublesome people and they're not going to change regardless, the Lord is going to work on your spouse in a way that they're able to set boundaries, and that is not going to be an issue for you. Because there are people, oh, you can't hear me? Oh no. Let me see, check your microphone. Let me try something else. I was using the microphone. Those on Instagram and YouTube, can you hear me okay? Mr. Ken, is it better now? Can you hear me now? Because the mic is on, but it was connected to my computer. Is the sound better? Hello? Okay, let me bring it closer and see what happens. Okay. Hello, hello. You can hear me now? Can you hear me now, Mr. Ken? Sorry, guys. Apparently those on Facebook cannot hear me. And I am, yeah, the mic is on. Please, those on YouTube and Instagram, can you drop a comment to Let me know that you can hear me all right. Or maybe I'll just hold the microphone. Okay. So, is this better? Those watching on Facebook? I hope so. So, what I was saying is when you allow God to prepare you, okay, can any other person, let me check with this other device. Can any other person hear me from Facebook? Hello? Hmm. I do not know what is happening. Okay, yeah, something is definitely wrong. Hello? Hello? You know what? Let me go back. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, guys, there's something wrong with Facebook. I'm going to end the live real quick and start over. Hmm. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Okay, guys, I think I fixed the problem for those on Facebook. Yikes. Let's see if it worked. Hello, guys on Facebook. Can you hear me now? You know what? This new stream has not. I cannot believe the whole time. Guys, I'm so sorry about this. Oh, yikes. Thank you so much, Mr. Ken. If you did not show up, we would not know that there's a streaming problem. And if you did not show up, okay, we would not know. Ooh, my voice is still so raspy. Lord help me. Okay, so Facebook is back on. I lost my thought, my train of thought. Oh no. What do I do now, guys? Because this conversation has been going good, and I just realized those on Facebook could not hear me at all, which is interesting. Uh, that is crazy. Okay. I just wanted to share it on my story real quick one last time. Great. So what we were talking about, we were talking about why it's important to communicate properly with God before you jump in any sort of relationship, especially marriage. You have persons, and those on Instagram, I hope you can hear me okay. I am so sorry this happened. So, communication is the foundation of every marriage. Most people have missed it, not because they wanted to miss it, but because they were not trained properly. Again, like I said, if you haven't watched the videos on my YouTube channel, you may want to do that because it kind of lays the proper foundation for the conversation we're having right now. Now, in your place of building a relationship with the Lord, He gets to train you in communication. He gets to train you, He gets to work on your character before you get into marriage. So, the reasons why many of our marriages are failing is because there's a protocol we missed somewhere, there's a protocol we jumped. And for those of us who are Christian, you agree with me that God has never failed. And I want to believe that He's not going to start with our generation, right? If He hasn't failed before, why is He going to start now? Like, He has a track record of keeping His word, and it's clean, you know. Someone is calling me. I have to call them back. So sorry. God has a track record of keeping His word. He has never failed. He's not going to start now. And there's no how God is the center of your relationship and it fails. Now, let me expatiate on that because I don't want someone to get me wrong. You have to be willing to put in the work, right? And it's not just one person, it is both persons in the marriage who have to put in the work. You have to keep your relationship alive with the Lord. You have to consistently stay in your place of prayer. You have to continue to live in righteousness because guess what? There's adultery in marriage. Do not convert your neighbor's wife. Do not convert your neighbor's goods. That's the last commandment. So it's not enough for you to build a relationship with the Lord, get married, and then you're done. No. And I really want to say this because I was thinking about this after our live video yesterday. God wants you to be in a relationship with Him for the benefit of you. The Bible tells us that if we do not worship God, stones, He can raise up stones to do that, which means He doesn't need our praises, He doesn't need our worship. Because think about it. We're talking about Genesis yesterday when He started creating the universe, and there was no human being there. And He put all of the things that we're going to need, every single thing, the food, the water, the climate, everything was set up before man was created. So, who was hyping God to do that? If we think having a relationship with Him is about it benefits Him in some way. No. All of the work the Lord is putting in is so that you and I can spend time with Him in eternity. And I did talk about this yesterday for those who would like to believe, oh, there's no hell. Let me get a sip of water, please, guys. Give me a second. We don't want to find out. But back to the relationship. Now, there's some people who are probably listening to me and they are in that place where their marriage is feeling like, okay, I want to get out. My first recommendation would be to take a few steps back. and ask God to work on you. And I said this on one of the videos I posted on my What Time Is It YouTube channel, that when, if you are in a relationship and currently in a relationship and you're listening to me and you're like, oh my goodness, I messed up. God is a redeemer of time. He's a restorer of all things. I'm not saying the marriage you are in, you're supposed to be in, because there are people who are in relationships where they need to be out. But you need to be sure that that is one of such relationships before you get out. I'm not saying getting out if you're in an abusive situation. Please remove yourself from the environment. That's different from getting a divorce, right? And once you do that, go back to your place of prayer and ask God to begin revealing to you, was this your ordained spouse to begin with? If it is a yes, how do you want to work on my character so that we can make this work and work on the other person's character too? Doesn't matter the gender. Because sometimes the enemy lures people into the wrong relationships because he wants to create generational problems. You know, you get in, you divorce, and then suddenly your children have to deal with, your generations have to deal with a pattern of divorce. Now, if you do not know that that's what the point was, and you get out of the marriage and you do not pray to break that, it starts repeating itself because you opened that door. And I said something on a TikTok live video on Saturday, which just came back to mind. I said that people think they're getting married for themselves. No, your marriage is not about you. It's for the community, because you're going to have children who are going to constitute a nuisance to society if you do not follow the right steps. That's why I'm invested. That's why I'm very particular about marriages. That's why I choose to spend time and talk about it. Because we have to, we're living in a world now where we want to toe lines, we want to be impressed, or we want to impress people, you know. But statistics shows that majority of the people armed robbers, people who are committing various crimes, are from broken homes. Now, the persons who came from well-rounded homes and ended up in the wrong place. But why is that? Because the parents failed to pray and break certain things that were in the bloodline. They were not raised properly, and that's why tomorrow we're going to jump into the Raising Tomorrow section of this. Like, guys, I these conversations, I'm excited. You know, once this whole thing keeps messing with me, the whole technology thing. I mean, every day. I'll say this week is a week of learning. And then from next week we're going to pick it up. And by the way, I'm just going to mention the plan was to go live on my personal pages on Mondays, Tuesdays, what time is it? Wednesday, Raising Tomorrow. Sadly, I found out yesterday that I cannot go live on my Instagram page for what time is it anymore, because they now require you to have 1,000 followers. So I'm going to need you guys to support me. Go and follow my Instagram page. What time is it? Raising Tomorrow. Let's get them to 1,000 so that we can be going live on those pages instead. And also the YouTube channels. Get it to 1,000 subscribers so that we're able to go live, please. YouTube is 500. So what time is it? YouTube channel is currently live as I speak. Um, yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. So we need to stop acting like, oh, it's their marriage, it doesn't concern me. Yes, it concerns you, because if they get in or they do not work on the things that need to be worked on, and they end up being married, and then there's a divorce, now you have children who have inconsistent who have some inconsistencies in upbringing. They find themselves on the street. They're trying to steal. They're trying to do all of the things have that end up becoming a societal problem. It's not enough for us to address it. We can talk about it on social media all we want. My question is, what are you doing about your relationship to make the society better? Right? What are you doing from your end to make the society better? What is your relationship like? Because this is not about other people's relationships. Are you putting in the work to ensure that you're contributing to the solution? Because why you may think, okay, this doesn't concern me. Some of these kids are going to end up getting your children pregnant tomorrow because you are not doing your work, the parents did not do their work, and the cycle continues. So, marriage is not, yes, it's between a man and a woman voluntarily, but the consequences of the marriage, the effects, if it's a good marriage, the society benefits from it. If it's a not so good marriage, the society suffers from it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to take these conversations seriously, not to start analyzing and saying, oh, I see what is wrong with this person's relationship. No, it starts from yourself. Are you willing to follow the right steps? Sometimes when people ask me, oh, why are you not married yet? And I say, I'm not ready. They look at me like, huh? I'm like, yeah. Because there's a bunch of things that if I had gotten married 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I keep saying it, if I got married at the age of 21, the likelihood I would have been divorced by now is very high. And the thought of it scares me because I would have missed out on developing properly and becoming mature before I make that commitment. Yeah. So I'm grateful that I waited. I'm grateful that I kept saying, God, please do not allow me to jump into this thing until I have the full understanding of what I'm doing. So that said, we are quickly approaching our hour. Thank you guys for sticking around for this long. Wow, this is nice. Anybody has a question, please drop a comment. I'm not seeing any comments on Instagram or Facebook yet. This thing is this restroom. Please, anybody knows another website that I can use? Free, of course. I know StreamYard works, but there's a paid version, and I cannot afford that right now unless someone wants to volunteer and pay for it. But if you know of any free resources I can use for the live streams, so that I can be able to see the comments and in good time. I have one extra device, so I'm using that for Facebook, but I'm not able to see what's happening with Instagram and YouTube unless no one has commented yet. That said, we have covered communication today as a reason why relationships fail. And before we round up the video and say adios for the day, I want to go back and emphasize, please, this is for each and every one of us. Building your relationship with God does not only reflect on your relationship as a marriage, even with your friendships, even with your work relationships, and everything. So you don't have an excuse. God shows you your partner for those who are just joining, the questions you need to ask. You just don't go and get married. He's showing you the end from the beginning. So it's very vital that we understand how God communicates. Now, let me share this. This is very funny, right? Oh, Lord, I'm going to expose myself really badly. So I I was in prayer until say 4ish this morning, a little over 4 a.m. this morning. And I forgot to set my alarm to wake up for the and get ready for the live video. Um I went to sleep, but that was because I literally, for a minute now, I've only been sleeping for 5 hours. And then I'll wake up after 5 hours. So when I went to bed at 4, I knew, worst case scenario, I should be awake at 10, right? Did not set my alarm because I'm like, heaven is going to wake me up. So I'm sleeping and I slept good, right? And I'm not even thinking, wait, you slept longer than you should. No, I was just enjoying my sleep. And I'm having this dream and I'm somewhere, and it's like I was having a conversation with some friends. We're trying to clean up some stuff. I was organizing things. I'm like, Lucy, you've carried this organization even to dreams. Now, wow. But I'm organizing stuff, and then I'm having this conversation with some friends, a couple. I don't want to mention their name for privacy reasons. And interestingly, they're actually going through some things in their relationship, right? I just want to share this so that we understand how God will speak to you. And if you don't allow Him to train you to discern what He's saying, you're going to miss a lot of things. So I'm dreaming, and the lady is speaking to me about some, like, oh, you didn't do this for me, blah, 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 blah. And while she was doing that, I was tilling the soil. I wanted to plant. Cameroonians will know what water leaf is. We use it for one of Cameroon's most famous dishes called eru. It's a vegetable. So I was preparing the soil to plant the vegetable, and I'm digging up, digging up, digging up. And instead of planting the water leaf, I now put a mattress on the soil, which is weird, right? Because if you're going to plant something, you have to put it in the soil directly. I living room before I ask you to show yourself. Well, that's fine. Like I was saying, I don't think Restream is going to reconnect. Or if they can hear me, okay. If they can't, then I guess so be it. But I see one person watching, so it's still on. So I'm looking at the mattress and I'm looking at the soil in the dream, and I'm like, this means something. This means something. And I'm like, wait, and immediately it's like I literally hear in my spirit, what time is it? And I said, oh no. And I opened my eyes and I checked the time. It was 10:50. And I was like, really? Really? You could not wake me up at 10:30? So I jumped up. I was brushing my teeth. I was brushing. And then I sat down and the live stream would not work. I wasn't even able, like, I couldn't even get frustrated because I know if I was awake and sitting at the computer at least 15 minutes before the live video, which is usually my plan, that would not have happened. We would have started right at 11. I'm sharing that to say that that's how merciful God is, right? And I know why He did that to me because we are working on following the schedule, not necessarily for the live video, but for other things like, okay, ma'am, if it's time to go to bed, you got to go, you know? So it's interesting. That's what a lot of us are missing out on. And I'm sharing this because I don't want us to be missing out on these things anymore. A relationship with the Lord is so beautiful. And when you carry that relationship into your marriage, into your friendship, your world will be a better place. So that said, today was quite the hassle. Thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Does anybody have a question for me before we can end the stream? It's right at an hour since we started. Anybody has a question? If there is no question, I'm going to wish you all the best. Tomorrow, we're going to be live on the same platforms. There's no switching around anymore because, what's it called? Well, because Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube have changed some of the rules around that. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.